Welcome back, everybody. We're on part 2 of episode 94. It's time for the weekly hot tags, and there's a bunch that we can be talking about, so I'm going to kind of speed through these a little bit for the ones that really don't matter a ton, like Cara getting injured on Raw. Saw that fucking coming.
Yeah, that was actually part of Botchamania as well.
It's in record time this time. He's botching like no one has ever botched before.
Maybe he wants to be down in the Hall of Fame as the best botcher in the WWE. He's just walking around with a t-shirt saying that's what I do.
It's going to be his gimmick. Every match he's going to go out and blow a spot, but this time they're going to be planned, and he's going to injure himself every week, and it might be the beginning of a heel turn.
Yeah, but see, he'd botch that. He'd actually do the segment right.
Unfortunately. Be like, he wins the match. He's like, I didn't botch.
Sin Cara, we need you to fall off this ladder, and he wins the title.
Oh, man.
But there's apparently heat on him because of it, and it's mostly since he didn't break, he dislocated his finger, right?
Yeah, but also
but he stopped the match, and Del Rio was really pissed off.
No, he headbutted Del Rio. When
I didn't hear that.
He literally lipped off, he broke his finger, and he headbutted Del Rio at the same time, because I saw it in slow-mo, and he comes crashing down headfirst onto Del Rio. Del Rio gets up extremely pissed off and starts trying to hit him legitly, and the ref's like pushing him back, and he's like telling the ref to shut the fuck up and get the fuck away from him and stuff like that. He was throwing expletives everywhere.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was like that was his heel Del Rio, if he's like just like trying to beat the shit out of him.
No, it was legit.
Man. It sucks because I actually like Sin Cara, and I'm probably like the only supporter of him. But every time he gets it or he just gets injured, I'm just like, oh damn.
I was a fan of him signing until he showed up.
Yeah, shit happens.
He's a liability.
Let's talk a little pre-SummerSlam stuff. We'll go back to review stuff. Well, not go back. We'll do that later on. But before SummerSlam, Del Rio got into a fight with Drew McIntyre. Now, some people thought that it was Drew McIntyre and Del Rio fighting, but news came out later on that the two of them might have been fighting somebody else, and that's why he actually had that black eye going into the match. So Del Rio is just in a bad fucking mood lately, isn't he?
Yeah, apparently. He's a bit of a fighter. Who would have thought?
Hey, at least he doesn't shit in people's bags. That's all I'm saying.
Wouldn't that be hilarious if the person that they were fighting backstage was Sin Cara?
Nah.
Stop botching every match! You had one job, Sin Cara. One job!
Oh, man.
Heat on Sin Cara. There's also heat on Ric Flair for the WWE 2K14 Symposium, which if anybody has seen that is fucking crazy.
Oh, that was amazing.
Oh, it's great, but it's crazy too, because if I were one of the people like Jim Ross running the event, I would have been so pissed off at Flair. He hijacked the shit out of that.
Could someone please explain to me what happened?
Basically, they were doing this whole unveiling for WWE, it's 2K14.
Mm-hmm.
It's the game they were unveiling. And they had this panel of superstars. They had a few legends, like they had Mick Foley, Austin, Flair, and I think Heyman was with them. And
so
then
some big names.
And then they had Bryan, Ziggler, and I think Mysterio was there for it.
Right.
And basically they were interviewing and talking to the superstars about their favorite WrestleMania moments, how it's such a big deal to the roster, how it's going to reflect well in the game. And Flair basically spent a good half of it talking about his career and talking over everybody else and talking like your drunk uncle at Christmas, basically.
Also, like Uncle E. Langston.
Just that one guy who just talks over everybody and rambles on about his stories and isn't really contributing much to the conversation, but it's so goddamn entertaining. You got to keep listening to it.
He saved that thing. And without Ric Flair doing that would have been a boring symposium. Would have just passed. No one would have bothered checking it out. The only reason that people have continued to watch that is because of Ric Flair.
I will full-heartedly agree with Peyton. Even though he did kind of commandeer over the whole thing, he made a buzz about it. If that wasn't successful, I don't get why they're getting all mad about it. Flair made people watch the damn thing.
Right.
He was entertaining as fuck.
As was said at that symposium a number of times, Ric Flair went to record the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast the following day, and the first half of that interview was posted yesterday, and I was listening to it today throughout my work time, and they actually spent a little bit of time talking about that night, and what Ric Flair was basically told was, hey, go out there and just be Ric Flair. And that's what he did. Yeah, he went out there and he was Ric Flair, as only Ric Flair can be.
It's so good, though, when you're watching it. And Jim Ross, who started off the whole event joking around and kind of, it was awkward.
JR was in rare form. I don't know.
Yeah,
he was making some really like crude jokes, and I mean, he talked about putting on Rey Mysterio's mask and fucking his wife, and like,
What?
yeah, it's weird as hell. And then when Ric Flair comes out, Jim Ross just kind of goes like, "Oh shit, I can't do this anymore because it's insane. I have to be the one who like rounds up these people." Well, and Flair just kind of responds with, "Let me tell you something else." Like, he's fucking interrupting.
Ask me more. Woo!
At one point, Jim Ross is just like throwing papers in the air. He turns his back and walks off the stage. That was actually at the point where Ric Flair, one of the most awkward comments he made the whole night is when he was talking about the night that Jim Ross met his wife. And Jim Ross's wife had the opportunity of going with Jim Ross or going with Ric Flair in his prime, as he was saying. He was like, this woman must have needed bifocals or something because she did not know what she was picking.
He just like turns to the crowd and he's just like, "Can you believe it? Me or that guy?" Like,
and he dropped bombs about how him and Hogan should have main evented at WrestleMania. He brought up TNA at one point. He just went everywhere.
That was good though when he brought up TNA.
You know, 2K basically, from what I was hearing, there's rumors going around that these guys loved it. They were freaking laughing their socks off about it. But the brass at WWE are the ones that got really butthurt about this.
That's exactly what happened.
Sounds like he was just complaining about the company, you know. About the past, you know. Oh, man. Ric Flair.
JR, when Flair came out and started styling and profiling, JR styled and profiled with him.
It's just hilarious, though. It's like,
so weird.
Me or this guy?
Yeah, he says that. Or, come on, me and Foley, we tore it up at that the company there, TNA. Give me a break, brother, or whatever the fuck.
And then, like, anytime he mentioned what Foley would do, he was like, "Oh, Foley was rolling around on thumbtacks or something." He was always being so condescending.
It really is, though. It's like what, like an hour and a half long or something like that.
Yeah, if you find it, it's on Twitch. It's probably all over the place and other things too. But look for it. It's called the WWE 2K14 Symposium. It took place this past weekend during SummerSlam Access. Skip to about the 35-40 minute mark. The rest is just like introductions and yada yada, usual corporate nonsense. And yeah, check that out. It's funny.
The rest isn't bad, but if you don't have the time and you really want to get to the nitty gritty on this whole thing, skip to when Flair starts talking. And you got to go to starting off when Mick Foley ruins the entire night. If you're in the perspective of the people that didn't like the Flair thing, when they end up going, "Hey, you know who didn't get to talk yet? Ric Flair." And then from then on in, it's fucking Ric Flair. So definitely go check that out. Another legend that's involved with WWE 2K14, or actually not involved, and it's kind of odd, Roddy Piper is not in the game, apparently. I don't know how they're planning on doing a 30 years of WrestleMania without Roddy Piper, since he was in the first. Did he piss off
like Vincent Monaghan or something?
I don't know. That's really weird. Maybe they couldn't get Mr. T, and that's why. That's the only thing I can think of.
And without that, why else would you need him?
Exactly, because the two things that he's known for the most are the matches with Mr. T. And if you can't get that, then what are you going to do? You're going to fill him in with a blank spot? Like, are they going to do that with the Chris Benoit thing? It's going to be Shawn Michaels versus Triple H versus create a character mode.
And are they going to have him come down and face Bret Hart in half black mask?
Oh my god. That would be great, though, for that create a character mode. And you could just bring that into the game. Do, like, your own take on that.
Well, it could be Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus Stevie Richards.
So I don't know what's going on with that. Obviously, he didn't get taken out of the game for appearing on the Symposium and doing what Flair did, so something must have happened there. But it's probably the Mr. T thing. Some injustice happened with the Shield. Larry King, and I believe it was his son, skipped the line to meet the Shield and spent an exorbitant amount of time talking to them, and everybody in the crowd started chanting that it was an injustice. Very cool little thing to throw out there. Future endeavors we have. Dante Dash released from NXT. I don't really know too much about Dante Dash, but hey, if they didn't think that anything good was coming from him, you might as well.
Who?
Any thoughts?
I have no idea who Dante Dash is. He's probably a new guy.
Yeah, he must have dashed because he was in and out before I even found out who he was.
Somebody who is out of TNA, SoCal Val, finally leaves Impact Wrestling. She has been so fucking pointless since the inception of her being in the company. I've never seen why she had a job.
Well, I saw her in Women's Extreme Wrestling, which is kind of a porno wrestling company, and I
Sounds
always wanted to see her with her clothes off doing a lesbian, but she never did.
Well, right now.
This reminded me that she was still under contract. I had no idea she was still working there until I heard that she got released.
Supposedly she was just doing a bunch of odd jobs, like announcing certain things and hosting a show randomly, and then
Yeah, SoCal Val's Pillow Talk, but you know when you've got no more knockouts to do Pillow Talk with, it kind of kills it.
She would do a lot of the interviews that they would put on the website and things like that. That was her role.
pointless.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about maybe not even renewing the contract for Ken Anderson or AJ Styles. Which, if they don't fucking renew AJ Styles out of all people, I don't know what the hell this company's thinking.
Well,
You forgot one more person actually, Devon. He's gone.
That was beyond this week, though.
No.
Yeah. Go on,
Anyway.
Hayden.
No, I got nothing to say. Who's gonna miss these? Who's gonna miss TNA? When is someone just gonna release TNA? When's
episode
that gonna
100.
happen?
I think that's what's going to happen.
When's TNA not gonna get their contract renewed? That's what I want to hear about.
Well, maybe we were 10 off and it's episode 95 instead of episode 85.
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe Mr. Anderson can go back to the WWE where
You could
You
piss
get
Orton
his-
off again.
yeah, pretty much.
Well, Ken Anderson was like Sin Cara before Sin Cara was even famous.
Yeah, well, at least he could speak. Sin
True.
Cara doesn't know English.
I don't
Well-
remember Anderson when he was Kennedy ever breaking his finger 2 seconds into a matchup.
Yeah.
Well, don't you remember like a couple of minutes into a match with Orton and he breaks Orton's neck?
That was almost near the end of the match, wasn't it? When
Well,
Yeah,
obviously
that
he
was-
broke the guy's fucking neck.
Well, no. Like he didn't hurt Orton. He
Yeah.
could have, but that's what got him fired. Nah.
Exactly. And he was,
Well,
and I remember nearly every time he got himself injured. I remember he got the Money in the Bank briefcase. Was it like I think it was like a month into it, he gets himself injured, then goes out. Comes back, injures himself again. Comes back, injures himself
They didn't
again.
need to take the briefcase from him. He's gone for like a month. It was like a bruise or a hematoma or whatever they call it. They thought he split his bicep or something like that, but it was a misdiagnosis.
Well, would you guys want to see either AJ or Anderson back in WWE? I actually don't care. I mean, they're two of the
AJ
bigger
Styles.
names on TNA, and they could fit in WWE. And I kind of would rather see them in WWE doing almost nothing than to just go to like ROH or something. But if they don't, it doesn't matter.
I'm
Well, listen,
fine with
it's-
them doing nothing. I mean, Kennedy had his chance. He failed. He hasn't been very entertaining in TNA either. Good riddance. Find a new career in life. AJ Styles, it's just too late. You know, 3 years ago, I would have been excited for it. I don't care anymore. I don't.
I would love to see AJ Styles. As for Anderson, no, don't want to see him at all. Styles, I think, has potential. I remember when people used to say that Daniel Bryan, aka Bryan Danielson, would never make it to WWE. So, as far as I'm concerned, if they sign AJ Styles, we're in for some awesome matches. If they don't, well, it's not really going to hurt anybody, is it? And Styles himself is rich, so he's married to like a rich woman, so I doubt he's going to have any issues.
I thought he was married to Claire Lynch. Two more hot tags to talk about. One of them has already kind of been debunked, but what the hell, mention it anyway. There was a rumor going around, the typical triple scoop kind of thing. Ryback versus Goldberg at WrestleMania 30, and Goldberg says nope. So, shot that one down.
Thank fucking
Oh,
God.
Yeah, but that's the good thing about it.
Just like Jericho said he wasn't returning that one time, and then he was on Raw that Monday.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's the thing. If they don't do it, good. If they do, well, fucking.
Well, I think this talk of Goldberg coming back is like the talk of Austin coming back. They've been done for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, like it's gonna like by next year it's gonna be a decade for Goldberg and like 11 years for Austin. Their wrestling careers are behind them. Stop bringing them up.
I don't put any real stock into this because it's one of those
Yeah.
things that people have been talking about for a long time. He always gets the Goldberg chance, and whenever somebody has some kind of a connection to a former star, unless they're, completely retired or something like that, everybody's like, they're going to bring them back. It's, it's Austin and Punk. It's
I was about to say, I never understand Austin and Punk. Why so many people bring that up? What is this connection that we need to have that as a fantasy match?
I think people just wanted to see maybe him as like the leader of the straight edge society era versus Stone Cold in his prime as the beer drinker. Like that kind of story writes itself. But now it's not irrelevant. It's not relevant anymore.
He's mentioned his name before, and then they fight back and forth on Twitter, and that's basically it.
So Rock versus John Cena.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kind of. Yeah.
You know what? Goldberg coming back to WWE is like Tony Mango debuting in the WWE. We know it's not going to happen anytime soon. Sorry,
I can
Tony.
see, dude, you say that, but I believe Mango's on the card for Raw next week.
Yeah, stop
joke's on
spoiling.
you.
I'm gonna fucking beat Sin Cara.
Wait, I can see it. So you're the mystery female in the Divas division.
Stop
Oh,
spoiling.
you got
things.
him.
One more that we were going to talk about, WWE might drop the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and if that's
Yes.
the case, woo!
Oh, thank
Yeah.
Thank God.
Wait, are they going to drop it this year, or is it going to be after
Nah,
this year?
next year.
Next year.
We stopped
goddamn.
separate through it this year.
Says who? It's
Yep.
not until October. They could stop that and just change it to be something else.
I hope so. Or just keep
And that's what they did with
Battleground.
Over the Limit. I mean, you could still find stuff saying that Over the Limit was supposed to happen this year, but we all know it's changed to Battleground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they could just drop Hell in a Cell completely and just be like, hey, Battlegrounds is the October pay-per-view.
They really
I
could
agree.
because they make that far too close together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's 2 weeks between the pay-per-views? 1 week?
Yeah,
not
it's
long.
like
something
that.
stupid like that. And also last year, I believe like that it was like 6 weeks in between Night of Champions and Hell in a Cell anyway, so they could always have a 6-week build up because they did it last year at least.
Yeah, it didn't really help all that much in the long
Well,
run.
I mean, that's because Cena got injured and they had to be like, hey, Ryback, you should be in a Hell in a Cell match, and we all know how that went, and we know how that turned out for Ryback's career.
Hey, that could have been awesome if they did that right.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
to
it
get
could
into
have
that
been,
tangent.
but-
Let's cut that
they
before it
fucked
goes
up.
there.
But I really hope that they do get rid of Hell in a Cell because it's not getting rid of the match itself. It's just getting rid of the pay-per-view. And we don't need a pay-per-view built around Hell in a Cell. If they want to do something different, okay. If they want to drop it entirely, good. But don't have Hell in a Cell anymore. It's proven itself to be stupid. Because you
It'd
have
be-
these feuds that are thrust in this big, important thing out in the middle of nowhere. We did not need a Hell in a Cell match for almost any of the matches that we've had for this pay-per-view.
And on top of that, it'd be different if it delivered once in a while, but every single one of those pay-per-views has fallen flat, and it's usually been one of the worst shows they put on a year. I mean, it'd be different if it had like its moments like an Elimination Chamber, Extreme Rules, or Money in the Bank has, where it's delivered like a couple good to great shows. But that's not to Hell in a Cell's credit. It always underdelivers every single year. It's never a good pay-per-view. So we're not going to be really missing much.
Nope. And hopefully they will start this kind of trend that they've been doing with these pay-per-views where they kind of sit back and think, look, these might not necessarily be working. Let's tweak this around and all that. And they figure out what's going on with Battleground, and that ends up being good. And we end up having a really solid 2014. Who knows?
This just in, Hell in the Cell pay-per-view is in talks with TNA.
On that note, we're going to move on to part 3 and take a quick little break with the rest hold.